Okay, so the physician licensure examination has just finished and is genuinely one of the most difficult exams that doctors in the Philippines will ever take in their career. And I think preparing for it as early as you can will have a significant impact on your chances of passing or even acing the exam. So in this video, we're gonna talk about when do you prepare for the PLE, what are the recommended resources for each of the 12 subjects, and lastly, how do you prepare for it? So the very first thing that you should think about is when should you start studying. And there's actually no right or wrong answers here. I have friends who started seriously studying around 2 to 3 months before the exam date, which is roughly around the same time when internship ends. But for me personally, I started studying incrementally for the PLE on the very first day of internship. And actually, my friends and I both passed the PLE, so it means either way, it can work for you. But the general rule of thumb is to start as early as you can so you can cover more ground and make it less likely that you will cram everything near the end of the review. And now it's time to talk about what resources should you use for each of the 12 subjects of the PLE. And to make my recommendations relevant to the evolving trends in the PLE, I asked Jazz Tugonon, who ranked first in the October 2022 PLE, about what review books he used to top the exam, and here's the breakdown of our conversation. He enrolled at Top Notch Review Center and went through the Top Notch main handouts twice. But aside from those handouts, he also went through other resources that increase the probability that he will place first in the exam. For anatomy, he used one of the board review series books, which is BRS Anatomy. And the practice questions in this book helped him a lot, especially in the head and neck region, which he said is one of his weak areas. And the practice tests in this book has also proved useful to solidify his knowledge in anatomy. Now for physiology, he used BRS Physiology. Now what's good with this book is it simplifies the relevant concepts from all those thick textbooks like Guyton and Ganong, and also reinforces mastery of the subject by providing practice questions with rationale. It also has a 100-item comprehensive exam at the end of the book with explanations. And these can help you measure how much information you actually understood after finishing this book. Now another one from the board review series of books that he used was BRS Biochemistry. Now this is quite different from the recommendations to the previous PLE top-notchers, which is Lippincott Biochemistry. I personally used Lippincott when I was preparing for my PLE, but actually you can use either of them. It just depends on where you're more comfortable. Now pathology, according to those who I spoke with who just passed the PLE, is one of the most, if not the most difficult subject in PLE. And what Jazz used for this was Pathoma. Now Pathoma is a great tool to find which concepts are frequently tested in the exams, but the caveat is it should not be used in isolation, which means you still have to read the big robins first, maybe during clerkship or internship, to get a good sense of what the underlying principles are in pathology. So you'll have a better understanding of how things work before you dive right into the bulleted format in Pathoma. Now, answering pharmacology in the board exams is also one of the biggest struggles of those who recently passed. But Capstone Pharmacology Exam and Board Review can help you distill the most frequently tested information. And it also has practice questions built around it so you can remember more of what you just read. For microbiology made ridiculously simple can make it easier to remember boring facts about microbes. It has easy to remember mnemonics, engaging visual stories, and tell you which facts are high yield for exams. Now it's time to talk about the clinical sciences subjects. Now for most of the areas known as the Big Four, which are internal medicine, pediatrics, surgery, and OBGYN, what's recommended are the platinum books, namely IM Platinum, Pedia Platinum, and Surgery Platinum, because it can be a hassle sorting through which concepts are relevant and high yield for the board exams. But these 3 books can distill those and make it more manageable. Now for OBGYN, OB Blueprints has long been the trusted resource because it clarifies which topics are relevant for the PLE. And it also has practice questions to test your understanding of the study material. Now also one of the most difficult subjects in the PLE is preventive medicine or Prev Med, specifically the epidemiology part. And what Jazz did was he went to the CDC website and accessed the free online course on principles of epidemiology. Now this helped him to fully understand the confusing concepts because it has self-assessment quizzes to evaluate himself. And lastly, for legal medicine, which was the least difficult of all the 12 subjects, you can read the top-notch legal med handouts instead of going through the thick pages of the Solis book. Now another benefit to doing this is the handouts are already organized in tables, so it's actually easier to look at and study. Now how do you start? Now personally, what I did was I started preparing seriously for the board exam at the first day of my internship. I would study during pre-duty days because by then I've already caught up on my lost sleep so I can study better. I would block 3 to 4 hours of deep study as soon as I get home from the hospital. But during on-duty days, the only things I would study were the patient cases that I was currently handling. I don't tend to study when I'm post-duty because I really can't get anything into my head when I'm tired and already more than 24 hours awake from being on duty. Now, if you like this video and you would like to know more tips about med school, check out this playlist over here which has all of the tips I have for studying in medical school. Now, thank you so much for watching, and do hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and see you in the next video. Bye.